Light and shadow. Welcome to science class. I am your science teacher Apoorva, and let's begin with the topics. Today we'll talk about eclipses. What are eclipses? Lunar eclipse and solar eclipse. So, let's begin with eclipses. What are eclipses? You must have seen in the few days back also. You have heard about Surya Grahan and Chandra Grahan. In Hindi we used to call like this, and in English we say eclipses, lunar and solar eclipses. Now, let's talk about what is an eclipse. The shadows of the earth and the moon are called eclipses. When light falls on an opaque object, it casts a shadow. We have talked about shadow, that we need a source of light, an opaque object, and a surface on which the shadow is cast. So, this effect of shadow causes eclipses. The earth and the moon are also opaque objects, means they don't allow the light to pass through them, they are not transparent, they are absolutely opaque objects. So, when the sunlight falls on the earth and the moon, they cast shadows onto each other. Sometimes the earth casts a shadow on the moon, and sometimes the moon casts a shadow on the earth. Sun is a fixed body, whereas moon and earth keeps rotating. Moon keeps rotating, uh, moon keeps revoluting around the earth, and earth keeps doing revolution around the sun. In this way, there are some situations that the moon comes in between the sun and the earth, and sometimes the earth comes in between the moon and the sun. We'll talk about both kinds of eclipse, lunar and solar eclipse. First, what is lunar eclipse? See the diagram very carefully. When the earth comes in between the sun and the moon, means the sun is the source of light and the light is always moving in a straight line. So, the sunlight is receiving the sunlight is received by the moon, and suddenly when the earth comes in between and blocks the sunlight, what happens? The shadow of the earth is casted on the moon. Hence, the moon cannot be seen partially or wholly. This is called as lunar eclipse. The completely dark portion of a shadow which is formed due to the total blockage of sunlight is called umbra. You can see the diagram, the umbra region and the penumbra region. Umbra is the darkest region of the shadow, whereas penumbra is a lighter portion of the shadow. Okay? The lighter portion of a shadow which is formed due to the partial blockage of sunlight, it is called penumbra. Means when the earth comes in between the sun and the moon, shadow is formed. We know that. Shadow is formed where? Shadow is formed on the moon. So there are two parts of the shadow. The most darkest part of the shadow is called umbra, whereas the lighter part of the shadow is called penumbra. So this was the arrangement of lunar eclipse. Now, solar eclipse. When the moon comes in between the sun and the earth. Sun is fixed. Now, moon is coming in between the sun and the earth. Now, whose shadow will be casted on whom? Moon's shadow will be casted on the earth. People in certain parts of the earth cannot see the sun at all or see it only partially for some time. This is called as solar eclipse. Mean the people living on the earth, sometimes they are not able to see the sun at all or see it partially. That's why it is called a solar eclipse. Surya Grahan. When the moon hides the sun completely, it is called as total solar eclipse. A few days back, it was a very big total solar eclipse in which the sun was totally hidden by the moon. Means on the earth we were not able to see the sun for a few hours during the daytime. No sunlight reaches the earth and it becomes totally dark even during the daytime. It feels like evening during the daytime in the condition of total solar eclipse. Now, when the moon hides the sun partially, means when the moon comes in between the sun and the earth and it hides the sun partially, little bit, it is called as partial solar eclipse. It occurs only on the new moon day. You should never look at the sun directly during a solar eclipse. Why? There are so many myths that we should never see a solar eclipse directly. We should either use X-ray films, etc., some kind of special glasses to see the solar eclipse. There is no such so superstition behind it. Actually, the reason is that it can cause damage to your eyes, because at that time the rays of the sun emits a different kind of rays, so it can damage your eyes. So in the video we have talked about lunar eclipse, chandra grahan, and solar eclipse, surya grahan. You have to learn this diagram of both these because it's very important and it will be helpful for your next class also. Thank you for watching. We have come to the end of this chapter. In the next video, I'll begin with the chapter Moon. You can subscribe to my channel for latest updates on my next videos.